Hi, this is Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Right back here on WagerTalk TV with your NBA Eastern Conference Finals preview for Saturday, Game 6, Celtics at Heat, May the 27th. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Brought a flag. Got some of the background, but I always carry one by the side just in case I need one within arm's reach. And it's Memorial Day, so wave a flag. Remember those that have fallen for this great nation so that we can bet on sports, watch sports, barbecue, jump in the pool, and do everything else that we do on a daily basis and take for granted. And the Celtics and the Heat have given us some basketball for Memorial Day weekend. It didn't look like it was very likely when the Lakers got swept, what was it, last Monday, and the Heat were on the verge of sweeping the Celtics as a Game 4 favorite. Let's not forget they were a 1.5 point favorite on Tuesday. But the Celtics stepped up and probably started finally playing like the Class A team we all knew they were. They won Game 4, double digits, blowout win in Game 5 on Thursday. Now we have a Game 6 this Saturday and perhaps a Game 7 on Monday. I'm going to break down this series, both side total, let you know where the public is, and also look at some player props in just a moment. Free for you here on Wager Talk TV. Hey, speaking of Memorial Day, we have a great special going right now at wagertalk.com. No promo code needed. Get an all sports, all inclusive, all access package for the next 3 months for a very low price. It's almost half price off the normal rate. It's everything from Memorial Day Monday through Labor Day Monday on September 5th. And that's right, you get some football. I know we're fading the public in the NBA right now, but don't forget about the NFL and college football right around the corner. Full summer of Major League Baseball. And best of all, if you sign up right now, when you're watching this video, you get this weekend included for free. So don't wait until Monday. Get this weekend, Saturday and Sunday's best bets included for free. Get a jump start on that Memorial Day through Labor Day special. It's on my page right now, Steve Merril, wagertalk.com. Get there quicker with shortcut wt.buzz/SM. Don't forget about free daily plays as well. I put free baseball plays up on almost a daily basis on my page also at wagertalk.com. All right, let's dig right into Game 6. It's on Saturday night, 8:30 Eastern, and it's between, of course, the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. First, let's talk about the series price. First, let's talk about history. We all know that no team has ever come back from 0-3 to win a 7-game series in the NBA. They've done it in baseball. They've done it in hockey in recent years, but no one's done it yet in the NBA. 150 times, and no one's done it. But Teddy Covers and I talked about this on Friday afternoon's edition of Wager Talk Today. Go back and watch the replay here on Wager Talk TV. And Teddy did a deep dive. Of those 150 times, there's only been 3 times a team was seated really high, like the Celtics basically are here. One of them was in the 1950s. So it's only happened twice in the modern era that a team has failed to come back 0-3. So the Celtics, if anyone's going to do it, could be the team to do it. We saw a drastic drop in the series odds from Game 4 to 5 when they got the first win. I posted on Twitter earlier this week that the true odds are plus 240 going into Game 5. They had about a 30% chance of winning the next 3 games in a row. They got the win as about a 74% straight up favorite in Game 5. Now, Game 6, they're a 2.5 to 3 point favorite. That means mathematically about a 57% chance they should win straight up and force Game 7. Assuming a similar line for Game 7, they're going to be about a 75% straight up win play at about 8.5 to minus 9 point favorite, that 8 to 9 point range I expect for Game 7. So you do the math. It's 0.57 times 0.75. That comes out to 0.42. 42% chance that the Boston Celtics wins both Games 6 and 7 on Saturday and Monday to be the first team to come back from an 0-3 deficit. That translates, by the way, to plus 140 on the money line. Lo and behold, the sports books got it right. They have Miami minus 150, Boston take back plus 130. So true odds are right in between as it should be. So those of you that keeping score at home, 42% chance that Boston wins Game 6 and 7, 57% chance they win Game 6. Let's see what the public thinks. Public was very heavy on Miami in Game 1. They got it right. They came back on them in Game 2. They got it right. Actually leaned towards Boston a bit in Game 3, got it wrong. But they were heavy on Miami in both Games 4 and 5. What 2 of the most public plays of the playoffs. In fact, Game 4 public play and Game 5 maybe the most public play as a dog I've seen in the entire playoffs. And obviously the public got it wrong in both of those. So now they're a little bit net neutral. I'm seeing a little bit of a lean on Miami, but nothing like we saw in Games 4 and 5. So the public is definitely becoming more neutral on the side after taking it on the chin in Games 4 and 5. As far as the total, we've seen the public leaning over in most games in this series so far. And that is the case here heading into Game 6. The most public play looks to be the over. Once again, not as much on Miami like the last 2 games, but the public is definitely on the over in this one. And it's interesting to point out the first 3 games went well over the total. We had a strong best bet for my clients in Game 1 over at wagertalk.com. I've stayed off the total since. The last 2 games have stayed under after the first 3 went over. And what's interesting about the last game is it totaled just 207 points. Now, granted, it was a double-digit blowout for the majority of the game, the whole second half. That can hurt scoring sometimes, but it totaled 207 despite the fact both teams shot lights out from the field. Miami actually outshot Boston on Thursday night, 51 to 50%, 51 to 50.5%. So they're both right around 51. Both teams shot right around 40% from three, and it still stayed under the total. Odds makers have done their job, though. They've adjusted this a couple baskets lower. We saw the total close around, what was it, about 214 in game five. Now we're seeing the total around 210 for game six. And the public is taking notice to the lowest total in this series, and they like the over. Even though game six and sevens do have a tendency to be lower scoring, and we do see unders win long term in game six and seven, elimination games, if you will. And that's because defense comes to play. And the Celtics defense has definitely come to play for the most part. Even though they gave up a high percentage shooting in game six, or game five, rather, they definitely held Miami in check in game four, facing that elimination game down 0-3. They held the Heat to just 43.5% shooting at home and just 25% from three-point range. Now, handicapping game six and game seven, if necessary, is going to be about 3-point shooting and turnovers. And the reason I say that is obviously the team that scores more points wins, but you would think the next most important statistic would be field goal percentage. That hasn't been the case. In fact, in only 3 of the 5 games so far has the better shooting team won. But where has been the case has been 3-point shooting percentage. That's a perfect 5-0 straight up to the team that shoots better. 4 of the 5 games, the team that makes more threes wins. Boston actually had more threes in game 2, 10-9, but lost. So that's why 3-point shooting percentage has been the perfect 5-0 scenario so far in the 5 games. But the other angle, the other stat rather, that has been very strong has been turnovers forced. In fact, if you predict who's going to have fewer turnovers, you would also be 5-0 straight up. So the team that's won all 5 games so far has shot better percentage from three-point range and has had fewer turnovers. And what's very interesting is that in the last 4 games, each of those games, the winning team has had at least 5 turnovers or less, 5 turnovers or more fewer than the team that lost. So it's quite simple. Boston has been hitting their threes, and they've been forcing turnovers the last couple of games, and that's why they're back in this series. Now, Boston on the season was not a turnover-forcing team. They ranked in the bottom of the NBA in those categories. So that's not their preferred game. So they've obviously found something here. They've picked up the energy level. They do rely on the three, though, and that's a very random variable to try to handicap game to game. We talked about this a lot in March when I did videos for the NCAA tournament, the madness of March, and that's why it is madness, because it's a one-and-done scenario. Teams that's hot or cold from three can win or lose on any given night. NBA is a 7-game series, but Boston, of course, has to win 4 straight now. They've won 2. They got to get another 2. Can they stay hot from three-point range for 4 consecutive games? We'll find out. On the season, they were the better shooting team and the better defensive team compared to Miami. But I think we'd all agree that Miami was probably better than that 8th seed, and they've shown that so far in this postseason. Knocking off, don't forget, the best team in the NBA record-wise in the preseason or the pre-playoffs favorite to win the title, the Milwaukee Bucks, 4-1. And then they had a 3-0 lead on the Boston Celtics, who were favored in the finals last year and was the favorite after Milwaukee got bumped out. So Miami's definitely stepped it up. Can they get back on track at home? You know, home court has not been much of an advantage in this series the last few years. Once again, on Friday's Wager Talk Today, Teddy Covers and myself, we had Jeff Michaels on, Ralph Michaels' son, the human database, Stat Daddy Jr. Jeff Michaels was on, and he gave us an interesting stat. The last 3 years, the home team is just 7-15 straight up and against the spread in the Miami-Boston games. So the home team has won only 33% the last few years. That's held up so far in this playoff series, obviously. The home team so far is just 1-4 straight up in ATS, and that was Boston winning game 5 on Thursday night. Now, if Boston could get to a game 7, game 7 home teams are a long-term 78% straight up in the NBA playoffs over the decades. But Boston has not been good at home, not only in this round, but in the playoffs in general. They struggled some of their earlier games against both Atlanta and Philly, losing some home games, but winning games on the road. So have to like the Celtics' chances here in game 6 on Saturday night, laying the short number. Once again, it's going to come down to three-pointers and turnovers. If Boston can hit the threes, they're going to win, and they're going to force a game 7. The total, once again, has been bet down a few baskets, yet the public really likes the over. So if you're looking to fade the public, the contrarian call looks to be the under, and that's where the early sharp money was as well. So I'll come out and say I think there's a sharp square divide favoring the under probably in game 6 on Saturday night. All right, let's dig into some player props real quick. And by the way, comment below. I love the comments. I read all of them. I reply back. Let's win together. Let's have some great thoughts together on how to beat the sports books here in game 6. Let me know where you like the player props. Play on, play against guys. I'm going to point one out to you right now, and that's Kevin Love, 34-year-old Kevin Love, former number 5 pick overall in 2008. He had some great years with Minnesota, won a title with Cleveland, but he's phased out now in Miami, and it's getting worse and worse. In fact, go back to game 3, he played only 5 minutes. He had 5 points on 5 minutes on 3 shots, made 1 3. Since then, he had 12 minutes and 14 minutes. In fact, he hasn't played more than 16 minutes in any of the 5 games in this series, and I don't see that getting any better. With that said, to his credit, the wily veteran he is, he's found a way to put up 6 points or more in 3 of the 5 games. In fact, he's had 5 points or more in 4 of the 5 games, but he was shut out in game 2. His total over-under right now at FanDuel is 5.5 under minus money. I think Love goes under 5.5. I know he's had 6 in each of the last 2 games, but once again, he's had only more than 6 once in the 5 games. I think his minutes are going to be cut even more here. Didn't play much in the last game down the stretch. I think that's a bad sign here, and Miami's looking elsewhere here as they try to win this series. So Kevin Love props under are worth a look, in my opinion, on Saturday night. I prefer under 5.5 points as opposed to under 3.5 rebounds because he's actually had 4 rebounds or more in 4 of the 5 games in this series. So once again, under rebounds, under points, assists, whatever you can find, I favor Kevin Love to have a limited role in this game 6, but I think points under 5.5, probably the best value play there. Let's look at some other guys. Jimmy Butler's going to have to step up, obviously. The zigzag has somewhat worked here in this series. Butler was a monster in game 1 with 35 points, then 27 points in game 2. Only 16 points in game 3. And man, if you had told me Butler was only going to have 16 points in game 3, Celtics down 0-2, never would I have thought they would have been down by 21 points in the second quarter. If you told me a team was going to be down by 21, I would have bet the house that it was the other way around. Sometimes it's a good thing that we don't have the next day's newspaper ahead of time. But Butler bounced back with a better showing in game 4, 29 points, even though they lost that game. But he did not play as well in game 5. And it's not that he didn't play well. This guy shot 5 for 10. He was 50% shooting from the field. And he only took 2 threes. He doesn't take a lot of threes. But Boston really limited his shot attempts, and he played 34 minutes. So the Celtics figured something out in game 5. Can they repeat that here in game 6? You would expect them to do the same defensive game plan. Miami's going to have to make the adjustment. So Butler's a real X factor in this game, as he often is in all the games for Miami. You know, coming into the series, we talked about this last week on the first preview video for game 1. I thought the biggest edge Miami had was the head coaching edge. Eric Spoelstra against Joe Mazzulla, who's basically been a G League and Division II college coach during his career. Has Mazzulla finally figured things out the last couple games? We'll see. But Butler needs to step up and have more than just 14 points. And it's not that he didn't shoot well. He was 50% from the field. He only had 10 field goal attempts. Contrast that to games 1 and 2 in Boston. He had 50 field goal attempts combined, had just 10 in game 5. One other guy we'll point out real quick is Jayson Tatum. His odds jumped drastically lower at PointsBet. He was 20-1 heading into game 4 to be the finals MVP. And obviously it wasn't looking likely that he was going to make the finals. But when Boston won just game 4 to make it a 3-1 series, he had some heavy sharp money come in on Tatum MVP odds, dropped him all the way from 20-1 down to 5-1. I still don't think it makes any sense, though, because Boston not only has to win the next 2 games, but then he would probably have to win the finals against Denver. And right now at 5-1, that makes no sense. In fact, you can get the Celtics to win the championship right now at 3-1 with less risk as far as who has to win the MVP. So I don't think that Tatum bet made much sense. By the way, speaking of the future odds, heading into Saturday night's game 6, Denver right now is minus 195. So they're basically 1-2, minus 200 to win the title. By the way, they will not have home court advantage against Boston. They will against Miami. But even though they're the 1 seed and Boston is the 2 seed in the East, Boston had the better regular season record, the second best record in the league. Denver was only 4th behind Philly, Boston, and Milwaukee. So the Celtics would have home court advantage if they make the finals. Once again, Boston's not been great at home this postseason, so I'm not sure it really matters. But just something I wanted to point out if you're doing some advanced handicapping. But anyway, Denver is 1-2, a minus 200 favorite. Boston approximately 3-1. And the Heat right now about 4.5 to 5-1 to win the NBA title, which is crazy when you think about it, that Miami is favored, 58% chance to win this series, yet they're almost double the size underdog to win the championship. And of course, what that tells you is that Denver will be a substantial favorite in the head-to-head series. Boston, don't forget, was a 1-5 favorite on Miami when this series began. I do think the Celtics will actually be the favorite over Denver if they make the finals. Once again, not only do they have home court, but they're going to have some momentum as well. And the boys made a little fun of me on NBA Tip-Off Friday night, but Teddy Covers and I talked about this earlier in the day on WagerTalk today, and I think Teddy got my point. You know, the first team in baseball to overcome an 0-3 deficit was back in 2004 when the Red Sox beat the Yankees. Keep in mind, Boston did not let down after that. They went on to beat an inferior Cardinals team, 4 games to none. But my point is, the first team that did this in baseball 19 years ago overcame an 0-3 deficit, swept the finals 4-0 to win the World Series. So I think Boston will have some real momentum if they continue to play like this, like they have in games 4 and 5, and very well could get Denver. Denver will be off for over a week and a half. Game 1 is until Thursday, June 1st, regardless of when this series finishes. I do think the Joker will have dominance down low, though. His triple-double props will be easy pickings, as they've been for most of the postseason. But keep an eye on this series price and see how it changes if Boston pulls the win in Game 6, because right now they're 3-1 to win the title. They'll be a heavy favorite in Game 7. Be very interesting to see what the series odds are, or the advanced future odds are for the NBA championship at that point. By the way, we talked about Butler. Let's quickly pull up his player point prop as we head into the weekend. I'm seeing Jimmy Butler right now around 28.5 points to the over. Jayson Tatum, who I mentioned there, is 30.5. So Tatum is projected to be the high scorer. Only had 21 points in Game 5 despite playing 41 minutes and shooting 50% from the field. So that's another positive, is that the Celtics were able to rout the Heat in Game 5 with Tatum having only 21. He had only 14 in Game 3, but on the other games, 30, 34, and 33 in between the two slower scoring games. So if you like the Celtics, you got to imagine Tatum's going to have a big game. 30.5 is his total, but once again, he's had 30 or more in 3 of the 5 games, but only 2 of the 5 times has he gone over 30.5. So I think that's a pretty good total. Odds makers look like they have it priced fairly accurately based on this series so far. Hey, let me know your thoughts once again on player props, where you see some value, some play on, play against guys. Your thoughts on the side or total. Public's been heavy on Miami the last couple games, kind of neutral in this game, but they like the over. Do you agree, disagree? Comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget also to thumbs up or like the video if you found it useful. And most importantly, hit subscribe and hit that bell for instant alerts. Whenever these videos go live, you will be the first to find out and watch them here on WagerTalk TV. I'll be guest hosting WagerTalk today all of next week and the following week here at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday. Myself and Teddy Covers doing WagerTalk today. It's a Prez-free zone. It's safe to jump in the swimming pool this weekend and eat a little extra at the barbecue, although the Prez apparently is heading down south of the border here to America, so beware. You might be hitting a Grateful Dead show in your neck of the woods in the near future. All seriousness, though, hit subscribe, hit the bell for instant alerts, thumbs up, like, and don't forget to comment below. I read all the comments. I reply back. I love the input. I love the support. Let's win together and have a great Memorial Day weekend. Don't forget, once again, if you want to celebrate Memorial Day with some sports winners, get it for free right now. The Memorial Day special starts this Monday through Labor Day, but if you sign up this weekend, Saturday and Sunday are included for free. It's on my page right now. All sports every day for the next 3 months into the football season for nearly half price with the Memorial Day special, plus this weekend included for free. No promo code needed. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Get there quicker with shortcut code WT.buzz/SM. Follow me on Twitter as well for free information at Steve Merril, 2 R's, 1 L, Merril, at Steve Merril on Twitter. And don't forget to check out my page at WagerTalk for free plays every day in baseball. They've been hitting fantastic this season. It's a great way to build your bankroll as you become a direct subscriber here and take a long-term investment approach. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Thanks for watching. Best of luck. Happy Memorial Day. Don't forget the veterans. And we'll talk to you again soon right here on WagerTalk TV.